Somewhere on Mars, a geologist, Wei Yi, is collecting a piece of meteor from the surface, intending to study it to build a new planet for humanity. Meanwhile, at the Mars base, a biologist named Richard observes the bearded dragon while it undergoes the initial phase of experiments, and he notes its unique behaviors closely. Suddenly, a meteor shower strikes the Mars base, resulting in chaos throughout the camp. Richard instructs Wei Yi to swiftly return to the base, as they need to evacuate from Mars as soon as possible. Understanding the situation, Wei Yi makes an effort to reach the base swiftly in the rover vehicle. However, the meteor event has generated a fierce storm, which obscures visibility significantly. At the same time, Richard and two astronauts find themselves waiting for Wei Yi to exit the perilous zone in the escape pod. After struggling for a while, Wei Yi reaches the escape pod where he meets Richard and the others, and they begin to ascend from the danger area into the sky. Surprisingly, a mysterious creature that resembles a flying whale suddenly emerges and collides with the pod, causing it to plummet back to the ground. After the accident, Wei Yi, who is alive, has returned to the Mars base to send messages out to Earth for assistance. However, an unexpected creature descends from above and impacts him, rendering him unconscious. Later, on Earth, the director of the space agency dispatches messages to the Chinese Department of Space Agency, seeking their assistance in rescuing the astronaut on Mars, which comes after a plea for help from Wei Yi. Given that the journey to Mars requires a minimum of 4 months, they are seeking assistance from the Chinese Department of Space Agency, considering that China currently possesses a spaceship in proximity to Mars. At the same time, in the vastness of space, a Chinese spaceship is occupied by 5 astronauts who are preparing to enjoy their dinner. Suddenly, the captain receives a message from the Chinese Space Agency which instructs them to change the mission quickly, as they must rescue 4 astronauts who are stuck on Mars. After knowing this, the captain instructs everyone to get ready for the rescue operation. An astronaut named Tong experiences significant anxiety, which is primarily due to the fact that his father, Wei Yi, is currently stranded on Mars. The captain, after careful consideration, decides to take Tong along with 2 other astronauts on a mission to Mars, which promises to help Wei Yi at all costs. A female astronaut named Shan must remain in the spaceship. She is there to provide support in case of any need that may arise. The 4 astronauts soon prepare to enter the lander, which is a crucial step in their mission to explore Mars. As the lander approaches the Martian surface, a flying whale appears unexpectedly, causing the astronauts to lose communication with the main spaceship. Furthermore, while the flying whale attempts to swallow the lander, Tong steps in by disabling the ship's operating system, which results in the vehicle plummeting and successfully dodging the creature's assault. As the lander approaches the ground, Tong reopens the operating system, which enables the ship to descend safely. Unfortunately, the astronauts realize that their ship is out of fuel, so they decide to embark on foot to the Mars base in pursuit of a fuel source. They decide to split into 2 distinct teams, each with its strategy and objectives. The captain, accompanied by a man named Xiang, travels to the Mars base in search of fuel, whereas Tong, along with a woman named Xiqing, embarks on a quest to find survivors, which includes Wei Yi. Shortly thereafter, the captain's team arrives at the Mars base, where they observe a rover vehicle stationed outside. He instructs Xiang to head into the base to search for fuel, and he takes the vehicle to fetch Tong and Xiqing to rescue the survivors. Simultaneously, Tong's team finds his father's escape pod completely damaged and immobilized on the surface. Suddenly, they attempt to enter the pod, hoping to find survivors. However, they then discover that Richard is alive. While a female astronaut lies unconscious, another has died, and Tong's father, Wei Yi, is missing. Later, the captain arrives, and they gather all the survivors along with the unconscious astronaut, transporting them back to the Mars base in search of assistance. Upon their arrival, the captain instructs Xiang and Tong to search for Wei Yi, as they have not found him in the escape pod and suspect that he might still be alive. Very soon, the 2 men spot footprints leading to the plant lab, and they rush inside, hoping to find Wei Yi. They attempt to enter the lab carefully and notice some abnormality in there. They then hear an unusual sound emanating from within the room. Suddenly, a mutated creature resembling a bearded dragon appears and attempts to attack them, prompting both of them to flee in a panicked attempt to save themselves. As they attempt to flee, they simultaneously uncover Wei Yi, who is lying unconscious. They decide to leave the area with Wei Yi, and they remain silent to avoid the monster's pursuit. Unfortunately, they are unable to remain quiet while the monster comes perilously close to devouring Tong. Luckily, the captain arrives and, using a tranquilizer stick, strikes the creature, thereby saving them from potential trouble. Later, all the astronauts rescue Wei Yi in a moment of urgency, helping him feel better and gradually wake up. He is astonished to encounter Tong as a Chinese astronaut because he has not laid eyes on him for many years since his departure from Earth. Wei Yi then claims that an unidentified creature attacked him, but he managed to flee to the plant lab where he subsequently lost consciousness. At the same time, on Earth, the Chinese Department of Space Agency receives the unfortunate news that a meteor measuring approximately 500 meters in width is poised to collide with Mars within the next 12 hours. They report this news to Shan on the main spaceship to warn the rescue team on Mars. However, she finds herself unable to reach them as the flying whale's attack on the lander has disrupted the signal. Meanwhile, at the Mars base, Richard secretly administers the serum to the creature, which lies unconscious due to the tranquilizer stick. It turns out that this creature, which is a little bearded dragon, was one that Richard had experimented with prior to the meteor shower that occurred at the Mars base. Suddenly, the astronauts discover him, and Richard informs them that his experiment has ultimately succeeded. He reveals that, 1 month ago, he discovered a minuscule organism within a fragment of the meteor which possesses the ability to adapt to the atmospheric conditions present on Mars. Later, he decided to combine this organism with the whale's embryo and the bearded dragon, thereby creating a new embryo intended for future humans to inhabit Mars. Upon hearing this, everyone realizes that the flying whale, which has been attacking them in the sky, is indeed the mutated creature resulting from Richard's experiments. While they engage in conversation, the mutated creature wakes up and envelops Richard, which causes everyone to rush in a frantic attempt to escape. As they enter a room, they successfully evade the monster. However, they soon feel trapped since the creature has blocked their only exit. The captain uses the laptop and eventually reaches Shan aboard the main spaceship. However, he discovers a message that she had sent 8 hours prior. The message notifies them of the imminent arrival of large meteors in their vicinity, thus providing them with only a few hours to escape before catastrophe occurs. To escape, Shang swiftly utilizes his skills to create a basic bomb capable of destroying the entire location and eliminating the monster. Nevertheless, he subsequently realizes that he does not possess the essential materials required for its creation, particularly sugar. Hearing this, the captain and Tong resolve to search for the sugar in the kitchen, but the challenge they face is that the monster lurks just outside the door. With no other option available, they devise a plan to divert the creature's attention, which will compel the others to exit the room and wait outside the Mars base. After talking, the captain, wielding the flame gun, ensures both his and Tong's safety from the creature's relentless attack. As they arrive in the kitchen, Tong swiftly includes the sugar in the mixture for the bomb, while the captain remains stationed outside the room to ensure safety. However, the creature employs its stealthy ability to draw near to the captain, and then it reveals itself before launching an attack on him. Tong observes this situation and attempts to assist the captain as soon as possible. However, the mutated monster inadvertently ensnares him with its tongue. Unable to move, he instructs the captain to depart as he presses the ticking time bomb, initiating the countdown just before he loses consciousness. Surprisingly, the captain remains by his side, and he even employs the flamethrower to fire at the monster in an effort to save him. The captain then grabs the bomb, pushes Tong out, locks the door, and remains with the creature before instructing him to leave. It turns out that the bomb they have created, which is the countdown device, turns out to be non-functional. Consequently, the only way to activate it is for someone to press the trigger on the bomb. Although the captain knows the risks involved, he ultimately decides to sacrifice his life so that he can save everyone else on board. Recognizing this, Tong makes an effort to persuade the captain to reconsider. The captain discloses that the pressure of embarking on the ship once more poses a significant risk to his health, given that he suffers from a heart condition. Consequently, choosing to sacrifice his life to save everyone would be a perfect decision rather than perishing without purpose. Understanding the situation, Tong sheds tears before departing to join the others, and as they drive away in the vehicle, the explosion obliterates the Mars base. As they make their way back, they engage in a discussion about the reasons behind the flying whale's attacks, which seem to occur every time they attempt to take off. Tong holds the belief that the electromagnetic waves emitted by the ship's radar trigger a response in the whale, which causes it to perceive these waves as a threat. Soon, as everyone prepares to board the lander, Wei Yi shares with Tong the personal story of a father and son's journey. Wei Yi, having picked up a small piece of the meteorite when he landed on Mars, offers it to his son, hoping to fulfill Tong's long-held desire for one since childhood. Tong swiftly inquires whether he feels any regret about being the first Chinese astronaut to set foot on Mars, since he never conveyed any sentiment towards his family. Hearing the question, Wei Yi remains unresponsive. Wei Yi suggests that if Tong takes pride in his actions, then he also will find no reason to regret his own choices. He claims that his actions are aimed at assisting everyone on Earth in discovering a new home for future generations. He even assures Tong that upon their arrival on Earth again, he will live a normal life and also take responsibility for Tong's children until they mature. Upon hearing this, Tong comes to understand his father's feelings, and he joyfully calls him Dad. Subsequently, all the astronauts enter the lander, and they realize that they can communicate with Shan aboard the main spaceship. In the message, she tells them that they have just 15 minutes remaining to depart before the meteors hit Mars. However, all the astronauts are aware that the main challenge they will face during takeoff is the flying whale, which often attacks them. Consequently, their escape from Mars remains impossible unless they manage to overcome the flying whale. As they engage in conversation, Wei Yi comes to the realization that he has neglected to bring the research data on Mars from the car. He decides to disembark from the ship and return to the car to retrieve the documents, all the while assuring that he will come back as swiftly as possible. As he leaves, everyone finds the research data is actually located on the lander, while they surprisingly observe Wei Yi attempting to maneuver the car back to the escape pod's location. He reaches out to them through the communication device, expressing his pride in having such talented and brave astronauts in the next generation, just like them. He holds a belief in each and every one of them to use their ability to support humanity. He even responds to the question that Tong had asked him earlier, and he states that he never regrets coming to Mars. He expresses that, should there be an afterlife, he would wish to be Tong's father once more, and he assures him that he will always remain with Tong. As Tong hears this, he begins to cry while Wei Yi drives the car toward the old escape pod. Tong is eager to leave the lander in pursuit of his father, but everyone insists that the captain and Wei Yi have sacrificed their lives for the sake of all. They articulate that should Tong chooses to disregard their words, the sacrifices they have made will ultimately be futile. Soon, Wei Yi climbs into the escape pod and begins to launch while he declares that he is a Chinese astronaut and that this is his final mission. The flying whale suddenly appears, and it swallows the entire escape pod, which causes a massive explosion in the sky, resulting in its instant demise. As the meteors strike Mars, Tong and his team launch the lander back into the main spaceship, which results in a giant explosion. As everyone arrives at the main spaceship, they excitedly share the good news regarding their successful mission to save the astronauts on Mars. They also recognize the importance of the sacrifices made by the captain and Wei Yi. They still feel a deep sadness about the cost of keeping the survivors safe. Consequently, everyone honors the heroes who gave their lives for the mission, and they celebrate their courage for the sake of humanity. So, what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comment below, and if you like my video, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.